Continue following the latest out of the criminal hush money trial involving former President Donald Trump in Lower Manhattan. Today, the judge in the case held Trump in contempt of court for violating a gag order multiple times. Judge Juan Merchan said Trump violated the order 9 times and fined him with $1,000 each for each violation, so a total of $9 grand. Our Errol Barnett is at the courthouse in Manhattan alongside CBS News national correspondent Jerika Duncan. Errol, Jerika, great to have you.
Hey, Lilia, that's right. Jerika is here with me, but let me give you a quick summary on that penalty that Judge Juan Merchan ordered to Donald Trump. $9,000 for 9 violations of the gag order and a warning that any continued violations would end up with some type of incarceration for Trump. And Thursday, the judge will hold a hearing on 4 additional gag order violations that the prosecution says he has made. So a significant warning already. CBS Weekend News anchor and national correspondent Jerika Duncan, you've been inside the courthouse. You were close to the former president this morning as he was making remarks. What jumped out at you?
You know, it was very typical of what he had to say about this process being flawed. He called for the judge to recuse himself today, in fact, saying that legal scholars feel as though this case merits no real warrant or is going to be effective. So more of the same. But again, he's talked for about 6 or 7 minutes just talking about how everything is a sham, it's a hoax, and that what we're hearing is not true.
It's interesting also because we have not heard from Donald Trump is specific criticisms of witnesses and specific criticisms of the judge. He's now being hit with these penalties. But meantime, the jury is hearing the prosecution's case effectively be proven through testimony. We had David Pecker last week, former publisher of the National Enquirer. We had people who were related to the key women who were paid off according to these alleged hush money payments.
Correct.
What did we hear today and what case is being made?
So we're hearing from what legal experts are calling sort of custodians of record. They brought in someone who takes video for C-SPAN and records everything. But what I thought was interesting is you heard Donald Trump's own words in some of the video where he said that he didn't know these women, that this was not true. He didn't know anything about them. But then, of course, just moments ago, they broke for lunch. But we heard from Keith Davidson, who's the attorney for Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, and Karen McDougal. He said that in reference to Karen McDougal, she, quote, had 3 goals: to rejuvenate her career, make money, and avoid becoming the scarlet letter, quote, the other woman. Now, she went public and talked about her alleged affair with Donald Trump that went on for about 10 months. And then, of course, we know at the heart of this case is Stormy Daniels, who received that $130,000, what we call hush money payment. Of course, the question is, was this with an intent to try and sway the election? What was very interesting, though, is that C-SPAN clip. And one of those clips, you hear Donald Trump say, if 5 or 10% of people think it's true, we won't win. So you're hearing jurors, even though you didn't hear from the president, he hasn't taken the stand, and we don't know if he will, you're hearing him in his own words talk about when all of this stuff was coming up about his connection to a Stormy Daniels, to Karen McDougal, say, this is not true.
That's right.
And he's sat pretty stoically in the courtroom. His son is there. As you see Eric Trump, who was in the background when he did speak, and we were able to have the cameras on him. But you see him sitting there, you know, not a lot of emotion, and you can't say anything. So he's forced to sit there and listen.
And we hadn't seen any of Trump's relatives in the courtroom up until today.
Correct.
And Lilia, what's noteworthy, too, is here outside the courtroom, this is likely the most quiet it's been all day. There's been a few dozen pro-Trump supporters full with, like, Trump trucks driving behind us, which we hadn't seen last week either. And so, as we've mentioned before, the courtroom is the campaign trail for Donald Trump. So despite him keeping a tight lip inside the courtroom, the prosecution trying to use his own words against him, he has said he might testify. The judge has kind of created contours for what that testimony can and cannot include, what the prosecution can and cannot ask him. Go ahead.
And to your point, when you talked about those 9 contempt charges where he has to pay $9,000, the prosecution asked for another hearing, the Sandoval hearing, to say, wait a minute, if he does testify, can we also ask him about these 9 violations? So that's something that has yet to be worked out.
Be a part of the mix. And
correct.
If you're the jury listening to this, they defer to judges. They defer, you know, they have to spend time out of their lives to be here as well. They take this very seriously. So when any defendant gets hit with a contempt charge or is proven to be outside the lines of what the courtroom's doing, it doesn't end up working for them in the end. So some interesting developments from the courthouse today.
Thank you both.
And we'll have more tonight on the evening news.
Oh,
That's right.
excellent.
We'll be on the evening news with more tonight.
Well, we will be watching. Errol Barnett, Jerika Duncan, thank you so much.